if I was small and had no training and scared, and this guy was here, and if I didn't know how to get to the cops or RCMP, right, could I drive somewhere that maybe could be more of a public place? Like
Yeah.
Randy King says it really well is how do you get to a safe place, or what is a safe place?
What's appropriate to the situation you're in. And then on top of all this, you got to understand the stats. You got to know, that more than likely, if you're using force, that it's somebody that you know, possibly quite likely somebody that you love.
This is who I call my guru, right? Guro is a master in Filipino martial arts. Joel and I, we first met when I first got out of the military, so that we're bringing it back all the way to 2009. So 2009, Joel and I, Joel was co-teaching a seminar with Guru John Henarnese, who's one of Guru Joel's, what would you call it? Instructors? I guess that would be
Yeah,
the
I
best.
guess. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He's one of the guys I passed out. Were you there for his test?
No, no, I wasn't
Yeah.
actually.
Okay. Okay. Because I was shortly before that then. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. John's a good guy. Lots
Yeah.
of practical experience with applying FMA
Yes.
to
Yes.
keep himself safe because of his job, right? And yeah, John is such a good representative of FMA. He's not actively teaching right now. He's too busy with work, but yeah, if you get a chance, if you get invited to go train with him and you live in Calgary, I think he's one person that, maybe is unheard of in a lot of ways, but really should have a little bit more notoriety about who he is.
For sure. I mean, he's put in so much time and effort, right? Like when he started learning Balint walk for me and started doing some of my Kung Fu classes and stuff, I was honored, right? But it was funny how, it's like 15 years later, if not longer, where, it was like, oh, okay, he got super busy with work and I went hardcore into the martial arts world as
Yeah, yeah.
do it. And it happens, but that shows his humbleness, right? And that shows, like when we get
Oh
together,
yeah.
we each other up. It's quite fun. So Joel, I succinctly, if possible, um, where did you start with your martial arts journey? I know you have so many different ranks, so I'm just going to shut up and let you kind of tell people about yourself.
So really, I'd done a little bit of Taekwondo, and I mean, I did some judo when I was in grade 4, and I wish I had realized what that was. I just didn't want to do break falls forever. I just didn't, you know what I mean? Like I wanted to get in. What I wanted was karate.
Yeah.
My mom put me in judo, and I'm like, where's the kicking? Right. And then a few years later, wow, grade 9. I did Taekwondo for about close to a year, I think. Um, and those guys were great. They were wild, crazy 18-year-olds who I saw a lot of shit with. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, we it was wild times, man. It was totally like Cobra Kai. Guys weren't mature enough to mentor us, but
Yeah.
they were
Okay.
our mentors
Oh,
and
interesting.
mentored
Interesting.
us into a lot of bad situations. And they used to kick the shit out of us, like
Yeah. Yeah.
literally, literally.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And so I was always like, they'd grab 3 of us at a time and like, okay, come fight me. And I was always like, okay, go get him, hanging back because I knew once he obliterated 2 kids, they'd have way more control with me. So I'd hang back until I didn't have to get my ass beat too bad. Um,
Uh,
they were,
yeah, don't run away from the bear. Just run faster than your friends, kind of thing.
yeah. Um, but and then I stopped for a long time, and I know we had some, uh, I would say I was uh, on a path, a bad path as a youth, right? Or as
Yeah.
a young adult.
Yeah.
And I remember I was at this party. I caused a whole bunch of mayhem. Um, you know, people got hurt. Um, and I was talking to this guy was confront. I was drunk. I was so drunk and high, and this guy was in my face, and I knew he was tough, right? I knew he had boxed, and I knew he was you know what we would call a preemptive striker,
And
right?
this is all in Cranbrook, BC.
It's
This is
all in Cranbrook,
okay.
right?
Okay. Yeah.
And so I was, instead of saying, "Look, I messed up. I shouldn't have done what I did." I got it. He was trying to figure out what was going on, why I caused this problem, why I did what I did, and I mouthed off. And next thing you know, I don't even remember him hitting me. I do
Oh, yeah.
remember a big flash,
Oh, well, yeah.
right? And I could see branches over my head, and I'm like, "What's going on?" And I
Yeah.
realized I was being carried by um, some friends of one of my best friend's little brothers. They were there at that
Yeah.
point, right? And they were hauling me out, and they're like, "Don't move, Joel. Don't move, Joel." And um, it was that day I thought, and stupid young man thinking, I'm like, I better learn how to fight. So I joined Barry Northey's Mantis Kung Fu class,
Okay.
and I put in a couple of years with him, but then I moved to the coast.
Oh, okay.
And that's where I couldn't find anyone who taught like him. I couldn't find anyone who was laid back like him. And he didn't even let us call him Sifu. It was always Barry. And everywhere I went, it was militant and, starched knees and stuff. And then I walked into Abbotsford kickboxing and Muay Thai, and Ajahn Songwith Sing Thong was one of the instructors there. At that time, Vince Ross was there. Vince the Rocket Ross, one of Canada's top kickboxers, one of the world's top kickboxers. I think he was ranked number 3 in the world. Uh,
Cool.
and I walked in, and it was scary. It was
Yeah.
scary, right? Like I was used to a nice, clean kung fu studio. There was shitty carpet on the floor. The ring was covered in blood stains. Um,
Good times. Good
it was
times.
boarded up windows by the ring where people had gotten thrown in. Yeah, yeah. It was.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't want to. I don't know if this is for me, but I did. I stuck it out for a few years with Ajahn Song. He eventually became the only instructor. Right, everybody
Mhm.
else moved on.
Yes.
um, Quit smoking in there. Slowed down on my drinking. Stopped getting into trouble. Had a good outlet for my and I guess I was in my mid 20s by then. So I had a good outlet for this youthful anger and angst that I still carried, right? I was very immature. Um and then found Filipino martial arts around the same, like shortly after, through Guru Ross Doramal and Norm Stackhouse. Norm Stackhouse was my Guru. Norm was my first Filipino martial arts instructor. And that was just at the period that Guru Ross was switching from being involved in modern Arnis for his own reasons. He made his own system, very uh, trimmed down system of Arnis called Mati Arnis. So that was my first exposure. And then I had watched some VHS tapes of Bobby Tabuada, and I hope he's not listening because I got some pirated tapes of his stuff. And I found a Berlin. So I was going back and forth. I started training a little bit with Louis Lindo, and he at the time was doing levels 1 and 2 of Balintawak.
Oh,
He
okay.
was, so I started learning Balintawak through him. And then he said, well, there's a guy who teaches the full thing in North Van. So I started driving from Abbotsford to North Van. And by this time I had my little my Amy, right? So my daughter was a year old when I started doing Balintawak.
Cool.
And yeah, that, or maybe even, I probably started it before she was born because
Okay.
I think I tested in '99 the first time.
29. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that was the thing, and I was going back and forth to doing different arts. I was always coming back to Thai boxing. Um, I'd do Filipino martial arts, and then I'd be like, "Ah, I gotta go see Ajahn Song." And um, I never fought. But I always trained. I was always helping fighters. Um, my goal was always self-defense, right?
Yeah.
And then got involved with through Guru Louis, got involved with Ed Wong, Urban Survival Systems, and Modern Chamandi. As you
I
know,
think that was the second time, and I think maybe it'd been the third time that we'd actually met, right? Because there was the first time when I got out in 2009, and then the second time, I think Tom Gillis, shout out to Tom, um, he was running that when we trained in the lake. Do you remember when it was so freezing cold and we're doing like judo throws and we're just like
yeah,
messing each
Ring of Steel.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
Moy Lake, yeah, that
Whaling.
was
Yeah,
freezing.
beautiful.
Yeah, that was great. And then I think that's when you and I really clicked. I think that's when I was like, okay, this is cool. This dude's sweet. I want to train. I want to learn from him more. And then you had brought Guru Ed Wong out to your place, and I made sure that I came out for that one. I
Yeah,
think that was closer to 2013 now, right? Maybe
yeah.
2000.
2011, actually.
Oh,
2011.
wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Holy cow.
yeah.
Yeah.
And um, yeah, that was I. Guru Ed is one of the unsung, very private.
Yeah.
Uh, like he blends combatives, combat sports, and martial arts very well into a very practical system of
Yeah, it's
CI.
very cool. Very cool.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then that's it. So you had started your own dojo when in relation to that time? Because when I came to you, and if that was 2011, that was at your old location. And that place had been open for quite a bit because you were running a very popular kickboxing program at the time, right?
Um, yeah, that was I think it had only been running for a year.
Oh,
I,
okay. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
'Cause
It
you
was
were you were teaching prior to that though, weren't you? Or
oh
I
yeah,
forget.
I was teaching in fitness studios in um up above a bookstore. I was I was I rented spaces, right? Like community spaces, and
The
decided,
life of the martial artist entrepreneur. Everybody starts out
uh,
somewhere. Yeah.
what a crazy thing to do. But previous to that, I'd also been exposed to Illustrissimo through um,
Norman.
Master Norman and Guru Sunny Padilla. God rest his soul. And I think, besides dabbling in a few other things, that's about it, right? Like, um, I did the Medusa. I'm an instructor in the Medusa edged weapon system. Jason Schultz was my way in through for that, and like I have to mention him and Mike and Seth Raymond for helping me on my journey. Um, right now, I'm doing Western Piper with Dean Franco, and I'm not Um, I'm not a good student. I haven't been able to put as much time in as I should because my main focus, of course, right now is Decampo. And I've been working with Maestro Paulo Pagaling. It was through Guro Louis I got involved with that. And I'm a Magda Tutlo under Maestro Paulo and Master Jomelin Caballero. Um, that art is um, taken most of my focus.
I have been blown away with how much you fell in love with the Campo. I think it was at the start of COVID when they had offered some online training programs, and I jumped in on the board as well because there was a lot of individual training, right? It really wasn't a lot of partner-based training, is what I found, anyways. And when I seen you fall in love with it, like every time I see you fall in love with something, I'm like, there's something there. There's something there because Guru Joel just doesn't jump on board unless there's something special that
You
he
know,
sees.
you
And
know what it
like you
is?
have really, really fallen in love with the Campo. It's really
Oh,
cool
I
to
love
see.
it. It's amazing. It's an amazing art.
Yeah,
The I thought it was simple because it has a small curriculum. Holy crap, it's not simple.
yeah.
It's in many ways it's like pugilism.
Hmm.
Striking combinations, hitting targets, right? Whether it be a heavy bag or handheld targets, and sparring,
Yeah,
and then your fitness is your journey, as well. But for me at 58, just going through the movements and the footwork and the really does challenge my footwork. Since my heart attack, it's been important to me to get my heart up to a good working rate and keep it there. And DeCampo does that, but it's
yeah.
so freaking practical. The body mechanics, like even the whipping strikes combined with the weight transfer creates so much power. There's stories of the founder, Jose Caballero,
Yeah.
literally taking pieces of people's biceps off their arm with a stick, with a rattan stick. And he used to, one of his things was to take a piece of their ear. He would disfigure people
Yeah,
in
yeah.
in bar
With the
in the
stick.
just
And
yeah.
for like the followers, like this is where it becomes really interesting, right? Because if you met Guru Joel when I met Guru Joel, you would already be inspired through his movement, through everything that he was already doing, because he's held the stick in his hand for so long. I mean, if you guys can see his forearms, give me a little forearm flex there, Joel. Like, and that's not just from lonely Friday nights. Like, that's from like this
Well,
dude
partly.
smashes sticks. And I mean, I'm sure you guys have heard about it if you listen to the other podcasts, like the Budo brothers, whenever they get equipment through him. Like, if you really want to test your equipment, send stuff for free to Guru Joel, and he will battle test it for you within 72 hours and see if it will last, right? Because you beat the shit out of it, right?
I
And
do.
that's what I love, right? And to see you then already, in my opinion, an excellent martial artist, somebody who can definitely move a stick with their body, their hand, their arm, now say that you have generated even more power from DeCampo, like that says something. And that says something
And
for the art and it says something for who he is. So
well, thanks. I
really
gotta
do.
say though, I am a remedial student of the martial arts. It
Yeah.
takes a lot for me to catch on to concepts. Like, I feel sorry for Maestro Paulo because he's working with me. He's trying to help me. He has to come up with ways to communicate that
Yeah.
he's never come up with before, and then they become part of his teaching. Like it,
Yeah. You're that
I,
student. You're that
I'm a
student.
bad student, and he's a master instructor. Like nobody's. I think he's one of the most intelligent and resourceful instructors I have ever met in Filipino and I've trained with a lot of really good people. Guru Louis is a master, even though he won't let us call him that. Guru Ed, his physical abilities are amazing. Guru Ross was so tight in his and good in his movement. And of course, we both trained with in seminar trained and tested under Grandmaster Tabuada. There is nobody in Filipino martial arts that I've seen. There's a few. There's a few. I should say. I shouldn't give. I don't want to over.
No
But
absolutes.
but man, no absolutes because I mean, there's some really amazing guys out there. And I just
There
go
is.
around and I look at what other people are doing and I'm just like in awe. Um, I wish I could just think of names, but like I'll go around, I'll share other people's videos because and that's kind of my mission now, like sharing other people's stuff and sharing other people's workshops because there's too much jealousy in Filipino martial arts and in martial arts in general. And and if I'm 100% honest, there's too much jealousy in my heart. And I want to let go of that. I want to that's a big part of where I'm working now. At 58, I'm trying to grow up. Um
Well,
and
that's good. I mean, it's about time, number one.
isn't it? Isn't it?
But I mean, respectfully, and not just because you're my guru and good friend, is it's you're also very humble, right? And I really appreciate that. And I choose to call you my guru because, and like respectfully, like take that with high regard because there's a lot of people that I've trained with that I just don't, and I wouldn't.
Appreciate that.
Um, we we
Yeah,
we don't need to name names by any means, but it's who we are both inside of the dojo and outside of the dojo that really means a lot to me. And you and I have been in this drama-filled world for a long time within the martial arts community, and it's quite something. But just for the audience, like I don't want to deter you away from training in different martial arts systems and other people. We're speaking from experience here of like I think Guru Joel's been training for nearly 50 years now, if that's right, or 40
like
years.
on and off though, on and
Yeah,
off.
of course, right? Like everybody. I mean, I started when I was young as well, and being the age I am and having the experience that I've had, like it's awesome. It's really cool, but there's also we're at the extreme. There are not a lot of people who have dedicated their lives to this, and that's the people that I like to hang out with. Those are the people that I'm
Yeah.
bringing on the podcast because there's so much information and knowledge. And I mean, this is where I really want to get into it today is all the martial arts training that Joel and I have, we still also have built our own systems for what we call combatives or self-defense.
Yeah.
We've taken all of this training from all of this martial arts and we've simplified it into what really works for us and how we choose to teach it to our students, right? Because we both run full-time dojos. Um,
Which
that's
means we're
where
both nuts.
yeah, yeah. I'll admit to that these days for sure because it's been a struggle. It's been tough, especially through COVID. But um, there's this really interesting thing that I think happens where a lot of people who train martial arts think that they know self-defense. And wow, you and I know that that's not the reality. So, in your opinion, what's the reality of, like, say, so you run a kickboxing program, you run an FMA program, you also run a combatives program and a kids program of all those. But what is the big difference that you find from your combatives program to your FMA or to your kickboxing program
um,
or Muay Thai? Sorry.
Simplification, aggression, tactics.
Yeah.
Um, my combatives program, uh, if you come in, um, some people will be like, I don't want to look, I don't want to know this. I don't want to
Mm,
just let alone practice it. And I'm like, well, that's I get it. I get it. It's not for everybody. It's not for,
Yeah.
and if you're holding, like I always make sure that we talk about post violence, like trauma, things like that, because I've had so many people come in who have had trauma, and especially women.
Yeah.
And so the difference is that martial arts has um, a cultural aspect to it,
Yeah.
a um, extended curriculum,
Mhm.
Lots of different variety of techniques and things that you can do, and um, it's the long haul, right?
Mhm.
This is something you do because you love it, and you keep doing it because you love it.
Yeah.
Not everybody loves it, right?
Mhm.
So this is six months of combatives might give you a working chance to overwhelm somebody with force if they're going to use force on you.
Yeah.
That's our focus. If I teach combatives and I don't have at least a couple techniques that someone can be shown and possibly have a good chance to go use it if something bad happens right
Yeah.
away.
Yeah.
A lot of our combatives is about mindset, about
Mhm.
creating this idea that, when it's time to go violent, it's just time to go very violent
And
until
that's
it's time
that's the
not to.
switch.
This, and then you also have to be able to switch that off. You have to be able
What?
to turn it on, turn it off,
Yeah.
use your intelligence and intuition to understand different force levels, what's appropriate to the situation you're in. And then on top of all this, you got to understand the stats. You got to know that more than likely, if you're using force, that it's somebody that you know, possibly quite likely somebody that you love. Um,
Okay,
and
let's we're gonna get into all that, which I really appreciate.
okay,
Um, do you find that that's probably the hardest part then is for people to, like you said, there's some people that come in and they don't know if they want to do that. Is that because, like, for me it's I call it turning on the aggression switch, right? Is if you're going to go, you have to go 100%. And so do you feel like those students get turned off because they don't want to become violent or they don't
yeah,
want to harm somebody?
yeah, and
That's
you know what? I'm not gonna try to change their minds because statistically, they probably will never have to use that, right? Like they probably. So I want to have that in me because I just believe that the more good people who have that in them, have developed that in them, the
yeah.
safer society is, right?
Mhm.
Because the police would love to be in your back pocket when violence happens. They would love to be able to put away people for extended periods of time who have habitually been violent. But unfortunately, that is not the world we live in. And you, whoever's in a situation, around a situation, observing a situation, those are the first responders to the situation. So if there's people out there who have a mind that says that normalizes that a little bit, then there's people who might act, who have the choice to act or not, depending on the
Yeah.
situation. I have I have my own morality around it. I'm
Yeah.
never going to leave a child in danger. I probably will never leave a woman in danger, right?
Yeah.
Chivalry is not dead in me,
Yeah.
right? Um, and this huge dispersion of ability, physical ability,
Yeah.
I'll probably get involved. I may not get physically involved, right? I may get verbally involved. You know, I don't know how many things over the years at working in security, doing just being me, that I've de-escalated. I can't even tell you how many, right?
Whoa, boom! The self-defense industry is broken, wouldn't you agree? Have you gone from martial art to martial art looking for the responses that you need to have for a self-defense situation? Well, I spent 35 years training in martial arts. I acquired 7 different black belts to find out that when I pressure tested their shit, it didn't work. So what did I do? I had to come up with my own system. Make sure to check it out at budobrothers.com. Build the confidence you need to stay safe.
There's been a
Well, and
lot
I
of
think that's where there's a lot of people that they don't realize what it takes to actually prevent a situation from happening, right? And what they tend to do is they think, okay, I need to have hands-on approach, right? So, for example, I had a new student last week. I was like, "Why are you here? You know, why did you come to my self-defense class?" And she's like, "Well, I seen you on YouTube, and you know, I work for an how do I say it properly? I don't want to give away her name or where she works, but she works for a plane company. Let's just say that and flies. Um, so with that being said, is she's like, I'm alone a lot in hotel rooms. And I'm like, okay, well, why are you here though? Right? Like she's like, well, I want to learn to defend myself. And she's like 90 pounds, like 5 foot nothing, right? So here you have somebody who's terrified, who's scared. She's come in to learn a class, like good on her for getting into the class. And I'm like, okay, well, if you've been watching my videos, it's about preventing these things from happening. Like, what do you carry with you? Well, you go in the hotel room. Do you have a door stop? Do you have all these devices that are now available out there to keep you safe in the hotel room? And she's, yeah. I'm like, well, then why are you here doing physical stuff? Right. And she's like, well, if I suck at all of that other stuff, I want to be able to know some techniques that are going to
yeah,
help me out, right? And that's what's so crazy to me, right? Is it's like if you want to train good self-defense, you have to prepare yourself to prevent all of it from taking place at first. But to be honest, and I think you and I see this a lot, is we don't typically get students who want to do that. We want to get students who want to work out in at the same time as they want the most efficient use of their time. So it's like if they're going to take time away from their lives or their family or something like that, is they want a bit of a workout, they want to be able to feel safer, they want to build confidence, they want to do all these things, which is great, but that's not real self-defense.
no,
Right?
it's not.
Real self-defense is, like you said, it's verbally de-escalating situations and knowing your rules of engagement of what you should or should not be doing in accordance to law. But like even you said, is if you are choosing to protect a child or protect a woman or protect somebody who you don't think can protect themselves, you better have the training to be able to back that up, both verbally and physically. And I think martial artists typically are like, they don't care about the verbal side of it. They're just like, well, my martial arts training will kick in and I'm going to do the physical thing first. But it's like they've failed, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I agree. If you aren't going to really look at violence and understand your use of force laws, and do a little bit of research, and then apply code yellow. You know, apply Jeff Cooper's color code. Don't be paranoid, but be aware. I
Yeah,
mean, and I don't
be
always. I
alert.
sometimes suck at my awareness. I mean, my biggest danger, as you know, is urban deer. I just the other day, I freaking walked up on right now. I've had my I've had two like I had my big guy is uh husky,
Yeah,
probably possibly bull mastiff. They said that's the only dog that jumped the fence,
yeah,
cross. And my girl I had put down, her mom was a Staffordshire, and she was huge, tall, maybe had some Great Dane or something in her, but she was a tough dog. That mule deer came out at us out of nowhere on that one time, was
yeah,
a house. and stomped them. There was nothing because they're on leash. I should have let
Yeah.
them go, but I was
Yeah.
worried about them going into traffic. So that deer stomped him, and it was stomping them so hard I could hear the impact coming off the pavement through the dogs. Right, they were okay, thank God.
Yeah.
But besides urban deer, I think my next biggest danger in for unplanned social violence is is
Nice.
these big macho guys in their lifted trucks, you know, that drive around with a chip on their shoulder. I had a student get in a fight, well, defended himself
Good.
a few months ago
Yeah.
from a guy who chased him all. He didn't even know that why the guy was mad at him. He's like, I don't know what I did. And the guy
Yeah.
chased him all through traffic at one of the busiest intersections. My student had turned, and the guy missed the turn, so he did a donut in the middle of the intersection with cars honking, trying to
Wow.
avoid him. Chased him down, and my student went. He said
Why didn't he just drive to a police station?
he was panicked. He's young. He's young, right? He was scared, but he thought he said he did have. He's like, I'm not going home. That was his thought. So he pulled over in a parking lot at the Recplex.
Okay.
Stepped
Yeah.
out of his car on crutches. Looked and this guy, he's 25, but he looks like he's an 18-year-old. He drives a
Okay.
Prius,
Yeah.
and he looks like he's got glasses. He is a good fighter, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's got years of taekwondo, years of Muay Thai with me, and one of the most frustrating people to spar ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've seen him frustrate pro fighters,
Nice.
and he was 15.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, he so he stepped out. This is a good story, so I'm going to share it.
Please.
And he said, he's like, what are you doing? I don't want any trouble, right? Well, the guy drops his crutches because the guy comes running up and swings a haymaker at him.
Yeah.
Like slipped, and the guy totally threw himself off balance. So he put a back kick because as the guy went past him, he back kicked him into his car. Guy got dropped, started to get up. My student turned around, hooked him in the kidney, hooked him in the jaw,
Yeah.
and down the big tough guy went. And he said the guy was huge, right? Like big.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and the guy, he left after berating him.
No way. Wow.
Yeah. And then the guy tried to chase him down again. He pulled over again. He's like, listen, I'm not going to be nice to you this time. And the guy's like, I got your license plate. I'm going to the cops. He's like, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah.
We have cameras everywhere at all these intersections showing your behavior. I look like an 18-year-old kid. I'm on crutches. How do you think that's going to go for you? Go to the cops.
Yeah.
I convinced them that my student did end up going to the cops the next day because you want to be the first to report if you're going to.
Exactly. Yeah. As long as you know that you did all the right things, right? But
Yeah.
I think okay, so this is a great example of let's break down everything that he did wrong, right? Because he ended up having to use a last resort, which is his martial arts training. How bad was his injury on crutches?
Um,
Like, why was he on crutches?
I can't remember. It was ankle, I think.
So let's say ankles not fully recovered. Obviously, he's still on crutches, but obviously he had enough in it that he didn't lose stability and fall over during the fight, which could have
No.
changed a lot. Okay, so we're going to say that he's above 60% on his recovery path. So, one, does he have a different rule of engagement because he's injured? You and I both have terrible backs. And every morning I wake up, I have to choose which rules of engagement I have based upon how my back feels, right? Because
Yeah.
if tried to do a takedown on somebody 2 weeks ago when my back was really bad. Just me doing a takedown could have caused more grievance and bodily harm
Yeah,
that I actually could have been screwed for the rest of my life, right? So
yeah,
right away, rules of engagement change about how he wakes up and how he chooses to leave that morning, right?
yeah.
He doesn't remember what he did wrong, or for whatever reason, Buddy, who basically the big truck guy, got mad at him for whatever reason, right? So that's why the first thing I asked is, why didn't he just drive to the police station?
He wasn't thinking. He was
For
panicked.
sure, for
Oh,
sure. But
his
I
only
what yeah,
his
like
only thought.
you're defending him, which is great, and I love it. Please play devil's advocate all you want. But for me, why did he panic? Because he hasn't thought about this
Yeah,
enough.
exactly. He's a combat
There it is.
sport athlete,
Yeah,
and self-defense is not something that is covered in like
yeah,
I might mention things about it. I might, but it's not covered in combat sports. You get very
exactly.
effective physical skills,
Yeah,
um, but a lot of times too, combat sports athletes overestimate their physical skills, especially when it comes to things
100%.
like edged weapons. How many decent fighters have been lost over the years because they engaged with a knife? There's been a few
That's
in
exactly what. Yeah,
Alberta
or a gun,
or
right?
one.
Like, I mean, the guy who just won the BJCC, or sorry, BJJSC, sorry, IBJJF. I said something
Yeah,
else. Um, he just won like bronze medal, went out to the club that night, right? Got into it with the guy, took him down, completely embarrassed
didn't
him,
do that.
left the situation. Everything thought he was fine. The guy who got his ass kicked and was embarrassed went to the car, got his gun, came back into the building, stepped up behind him, shot him in the head. He's dead,
Yeah,
right? And that's the thing where
is this
it's like
because is
it's
this the same situation? The guy was an off-duty cop that shot him.
no, no.
Because there was one in Brazil,
Oh yeah,
where the guy did the same thing off, and the guy went out to his car. Was an off-duty cop, grabbed his
yeah,
and yeah, and this is one of the most important rules is if you get into something with somebody and they leave, don't don't stay. Duck out the back.
for
Don't
sure.
like revenge
Yeah.
shooting, stabbings, um,
Yeah,
getting
well,
a bunch of
let's get
friends.
to that point within our story, right? So we go back. So he could have avoided the whole situation by driving to maybe more of a public area. So he went to the rec place, and were there a lot of people in there? Yes or no?
Yeah,
What
it's a
if,
bit busy area. It's a busy
right?
area.
But is there security guards there?
If there's an
Probably
event, probably not
if there's
during the.
an event. So probably not there. So where can we pretty much guarantee a security guard, right? For me nowadays, in Calgary, anyways, because it's bigger, Walmart has security officers. Everybody, right? So if I was small and had no training and scared, and this guy was here, and if I didn't know how to get to the cops or RCMP, right? Could I drive somewhere that maybe could be more of a public place? Like
Yeah,
Randy King says it really well, is how do you get to a safe place, or what is a safe place, right? Okay, well, you have to think of these things. We have to have that mindset.
shout out though. You mentioned Randy King,
Yeah,
ADD brain, one of the best guys in Canada for um, self-defense tactics. If
agree,
you get a chance,
100%. Yeah,
train with Randy King. Um, yes, if you don't ever think about these things, you won't have a plan. If you don't ever train these ideas, you'll never have a plan.
well, and all of these are mental training, though. That's
Yeah,
what I'm getting at. Is these are things that you can do at home where you don't need to go out somewhere. Where if you really prioritize self-defense as your number one thing, because maybe you're just too busy. Maybe you got 5 kids and you don't have time for yourself, yet alone to even leave the house. these are things that you can be doing and be thinking about these situations. I mean,
Yeah,
there's
absolutely.
nights where I can't sleep because I'm running myself through these situations. I'm going to go through this situation numerous times tonight or in my meditations. And okay, what should I do or what could have I have done? But let's
Yeah.
continue talking about it because we're still there, right?
That was the one question that I did ask him. Why didn't you go to the police station? I shouldn't have asked it though at that point. It should have been later on, right? Because
Yeah,
he was
yeah,
coming for debriefing.
yeah,
So
yeah,
then this poor kid though, man, or young man.
yeah, yeah. And
He get
25.
he's out hiking the couple of
Okay,
like
hold on, hold on,
about a
hold
month
on.
later.
We'll get there. We'll get there. Okay.
Well, you
So
this is a good bear story.
sweet. So he gets to the rec center. The guy comes out, right? And immediately your student is out right away and has crutches, right? So he's showing, and why did he get out of the car? Right?
You know
So
that
so
is
right there, right? There's your
that,
cage, right? You have something that can protect you against a lot of things, right? Against the baseball bat, against the machete, against the knife, against the tire iron, right? Because if this dude's coming out full bore and pissed off, you know, and I'm pretty sure it's fair to say that you can make the assumption that he does not have good intentions. He's followed you around, he's broken the law numerous times in his vehicle just to continue to follow you, right? In that time when he parks, he should be calling the cops and taking his phone out
that's
and videotaping the situation, being like, I've been followed by this guy. He's doing this. If the person doesn't know what to do, you stay in the car, you lock the door. The second that the guy gets out of the vehicle, now he can, one, if he's scared for his life, your student can use the vehicle and hit him. That is like the number one weapon in my world in Canada that people underutilize.
yeah,
You have 2,500 pounds and 300 plus horsepower against a human being, you're going to win, right?
yeah.
Against
Actually,
the gun, against the gun, it's a little bit of a different story, but at least there's some protection. If all of a sudden the guy comes out of the truck and presents a gun, right? Well, now you drive away. And now you know for sure that your life is for sure in danger. And now you're thinking, okay, where's that cop station? How do I get there? Can I just be driving around honking on my horn, yelling, help, 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 all these things? But instead, your student got out of the car.
yeah,
Okay? So
yeah,
right away, we have an issue.
absolutely, absolutely. And this comes back to young man thinking,
Yeah.
right? Meet the challenge. We bring these young men up with this idea of meet the challenge, go there, be and combat sports teaches us, right?
Yeah.
And
Well, and that's the great thing, right? Is that you're going to learn aggression. You're going to learn, okay, like he did everything beautiful, excellent martial art training, great job, Guro Joel Hungar, right? Like all these things were fantastic, and that's like it sucks for me because I would be super proud of my students, but when I have these debriefs with my students, I do the same thing, and in my head, I've been much better because before I'd be like, you did good. He's like, yeah, I did good. I'm like, awesome, nice, sweet, good job. And I'm like, no, no,
well,
no, that's my
it's that
ego,
part. Is
right?
that
So
part of
I do that weeks
the
later.
proud dad?
Yeah, right.
You
Where
know,
now I go straight into like dad mode, right? Where I'm like, hold on, let's think about all the things that you could have done better to prevent this from even happening. Because yes, you got the best of that situation, but what if you would have died? Right? Because everybody goes to the glory and the ego, and I did it, and all my martial arts training is so good. But in my opinion, you could have been killed. Worst case scenario, you're dead. Was it worth it? It's never worth it. The answer is it's
never.
never, ever, ever worth it. But this is what I think that the hard part is, especially as martial artist instructors, is we have this idea of glorified combat and we love it, Joel. You and I
Yeah.
love it. When you and
Oh
I
yeah.
get together, that's all we want to do is beat each other up and have fun and laugh and smile, have a couple beers and, keep hitting each other. And it's great. But what I've started doing because I started feeling this is when people come into my Gong Fu program, so my MMA but built for the street program, when people come into that program, everything that we're doing is still martial arts, but I say we're training it with a self-defense mindset. So, for example, if somebody gets hit, right, and they're seeing trees go above them, right, because somebody's carrying them and they want to get back into it, it's like, okay, so now you've already been sucker punched, you're already in the fight, you're
Never
already down. Let's use our martial arts training to get back into the
no,
fight, right?
just one. I hate that term, man. There's no
What's
such thing as sucker punch.
There's no such thing as a sucker punch. Okay.
There's there's because you know what's going on. You know the aggression that's happening. And if somebody's preemptive, they just in Dungeons and Dragons terms, they rolled initiative, they got the initiative first. You fucked up. There's no sucker punches. There's
Okay. Well,
preempt.
if it's one-on-one, so let's say that this is me and this is you, and this guy comes here and he hits you, that's a sucker punch.
Yeah, that's also you're not now I'm not saying that you're gonna be able to defend that. That's fucking tough. Multiple opponents. Really tough.
100%.
Really tough.
But that's what I
But
mean, right? Is
but
it's like
this is
sucker punches one-on-one. Like if you get hit, I agree, that's not a sucker punch. But
yeah,
that's why for me is the second that you're involved in this and you guys are beaking off, that's a perfect opportunity for his friend to sneak up from behind
yep,
and
yep.
sucker because you can't
And
get seen.
that's another piece that we don't cover in combat sports. We don't cover in most martial arts. We don't cover in
But what I'm getting at though is how hard would it be for you to just so okay, we'll use your Muay Thai program. Guys absolutely obliterating somebody. They're in your ring. He's won the majority of the ring. The guy's backed up on the ropes. He's smashing him, smashing him, smashing him. All of a sudden, ding, 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 and it's off, and he turns around. Can you, as a ref or as a coach, then just attack him from behind and like not actually attack him, right? Like when I do it to my students, I just come up and I just slap him in the back of the head. I'm like, where is your head on a swivel? Right? Because you just finished this dude. You won the fight using your martial arts training and defended yourself. Now you walked away without looking behind you and looking for a secondary attack or a
you
tertiary
know,
attack.
I get what you're saying,
Yeah.
but my Muay Thai students don't pay me for self-defense.
Yeah.
Not even a little bit. Right?
Yeah.
If and what they pay me for or what they pay to come in is to have a Muay Thai program.
Yeah.
And so everything's focused around getting guys ready for the ring, and I only have out of all my guys, there's only a few fighters.
Yeah.
Not it takes a lot.
For sure. I'm not saying you have to do it to every one of them, but I'm gonna throw something at you and I hope it
Okay.
makes you think about it tonight.
Okay.
What if your student died in this vehicle altercation? What if the guy got out of the car and he hid a gun and he walked up to your student was out of the car, threw the crutches down, and he got shot and was killed? Do you feel that you would have guilt because you didn't give him
Oh
a
yeah.
little bit of training?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Right. And it could be as simple as that. Like what I'm talking about, a slap in the back of the head or a push, or you sneak up from behind, like, hey, gotcha. Right. Like it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be like this big thing, but all it will do is just plant a seed in their head of when they're finished with somebody. Okay, well, here's a great example. When you finish a combo, you either duck or you slip after your last punch almost every time, right? So what if you just added in that one little thing? Okay, I want you guys to duck and then just a quick check of your six, right? And it's just something as simple as that where it's they can choose to do it if not, but now at least you've given them a small seed so that if they ever have to use their combative training or use their martial arts training for combatives or self-defense, that now there's something there, right? And it could be as simple as, hey guys, you're debriefing afterwards when you guys are stretching, or you're just talking, or you're just, hey, I want you guys just to think about this. Like the reason why I would go there, and maybe it's my guilt, maybe it's my shame of I don't ever want that on my conscience, right? But you know me, I'm so driven for self-defense is number one,
Yeah.
right? So it really, I am probably biased in that approach, right? And I'll be the first to admit it. I think that everybody should be doing it because
I
that's
agree
why
with
I
you.
train.
I agree
Yeah,
with you.
yeah.
I believe everybody should be doing it. And, you know, researching, reading books. This freaking thing right here.
Oh yeah, nice. Matt Thornton, nice, sweet.
I I resisted that book
Yeah,
because I don't do BJJ. I'm like, oh, it'll just be about BJ. It's not. It does explain the strengths very honestly about
good.
BJ.
Yeah,
But man, this is probably the one of the best self-defense books I've ever read.
nice, nice.
Um,
And that says a lot because for you guys who don't know, like Guro Joel doesn't sit and watch Netflix. He reads and reads and reads and reads and reads every little thing you've ever wanted to learn about martial arts. So much so that it's to a point that, God forbid, but the day he dies, I'm screwed. Because if I ever need something, I'm like, I call Joel, like, yo, Joel, who did you learn this from again? And who teaches this? And what's the history on this? And then 30 minutes later, I'm like, okay, awesome, thanks. Right. And right? Because he just does it. But I think this is where there's this idea in this. Yeah, my pet peeve here.
yeah, I get it.
Don't say that you teach self-defense if you don't teach self-defense.
Yes.
If you teach martial arts, love your martial art, train your martial art, call it competitive, call it all these amazing things, but do not say that your students, as a byproduct of learning martial arts, know self-defense because they
Oh, it's
don't.
terrible. It's terrible what's out there. It's terrible what's out there. Um, Nobody's touching on boundaries. Like what a huge important part of self-defense, right? Having good boundaries with the people in your life, because especially for women and children, right? Um, and even people who claim they teach self-defense really most of the time teach martial arts without any mindset in it towards self-defense.
Yeah.
And then there's the difference between combatives and self-defense, right? I teach a lot of combatives on combatives and self-defense night, and I also touch on the mental side of self-defense.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of women's empowerment training that is passed off as self-defense.
Yeah.
I mean, I did my first session of BJJ in a long time on Sunday,
Yeah,
uh,
it's good for
with my good friend Christian, who's a purple belt,
you. Yeah.
and I just want to have a little bit of wrestling. I just want to, like, because I love striking.
Yeah.
I don't like claustrophobia,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
So
I got
it'll be
I,
fantastic.
I got to get comfortable.
Well,
And
and that's it, right? Is it's you spent the majority of your life at your weapons range, your kicking range, and your striking range, right? You've dabbled a little bit with your trapping and your grappling, right? But where's this ground fighting stuff, right? And it's this here, right? Where I'm so glad that you said that you've talked about it for years, and now here you are doing it, and Sunday too. So like yesterday, that's awesome, and I'm very proud of you for doing that.
yeah, you know
Um,
what's funny?
yeah,
And fear of injury is what what has been holding me back at
yeah,
58. Right.
yeah, yeah. Mike
The only
Tyson.
the only injury I got,
Yeah,
I'm limping today, was
yeah,
checking a kick, doing something I do all the time. Check wrong. I got a sore knee
yeah,
today.
yeah,
Um, um, I didn't get like Christian took really good care of me. He got me uncomfortable without getting me uncomfortable. Right.
That's
He
perfect. That's so
it
I
really
love it.
easy.
Love it. Well, and I think that's why, like, there's a lot of people who don't want to train martial arts because they are worried about injury, especially as they get older. The amount of emails and comments that I receive of like, I'm 55, is it too old for me to train? I'm like, well, that's going to be dependent on the environment that you're training
Yeah.
in. If
Yeah.
you're training in a competitive based gym, you're going to get injured, right? And I'd hate to say that, but it's true, right? Like people are there to make money off of it. They're there to build a life off of it. They're going to fight and fight hard. And ideally, it wasn't that case, but you and I have been around the game for so long, we know what it's going to be like. Um, that's why it's like in a self-defense program, that's where I push those people. I'm like, look for somewhere that says that they do mostly self-defense based stuff because hopefully the class is less physically intense. Because if it's super, super intense, the people aren't going to learn it. And I think this comes down to how we actually start training our students, right? The psychology of the mind, this is how I teach my students, is there's 4 steps to learning: your ability to memorize it, your ability to teach others or yourself what you've memorized, the performance aspect. Did it work? Were you able to perform it against somebody who's a fully resisting opponent? And then the technical side. Usually these two are really intertwined of if there's a performance issue, was it because there was a technical issue? If
Yeah.
there was a performance issue and there was a memorization issue, okay, you got to go back and train. But that's part of pressure testing. Pressure testing is super important when we're looking at it. But the technical side of things, like in my self-defense program, when I teach people to strike, it is not technical. It is not pretty. It is not martial arts, right? It's something
I
that works because, well, like you said, is if they get in a self-defense situation tonight, at least I've taught them how to hit hard, right? They are probably going to mess up their hand if they don't switch to a palm strike. They're probably going to fall over if they throw a punch. There's going to be all these things that martial arts can help them with, but the priority of it is completely different. And I think that's where there's a lot of martial art places where it's like, well, I have done this in self-defense scenarios and I've used my martial arts training. And it's like, in my head, the first place I always go is like, why did you have to use your physical skills? You totally messed up
it's
having to
important.
use your physical skills, right? And that's where, back to your student with the crutches, right? He takes the crutches and he throws them away, right? If he done Filipino martial arts training, exactly, right? Or cane training, could he have actually used his crutches to help him? Could he have used it as a deterrent to prevent the guy from getting closer to him? But he went to what was most comfortable to him, which was hands to hands. I love that he didn't preemptively strike. I love that he waited for the opportunity to duck. And then he set his timing and his moments because legally on camera now, he's solid. Like he's so good. So if we go back to that, because we didn't finish that, ADD instructors as usual, right? Right? Is okay, so we're here. He's defended himself. He put the guy back down on the ground, right? And he got in his car and he started driving away. And then the guy followed him again.
Yeah. And he stopped again. That's
And he
where
started,
if he had a gun, that's
yeah,
probably where the gun would have been presented because he felt superior because he looked at this kid who looked like he was 18,
yeah,
doesn't look on crutches. He felt superior. He wanted
yeah,
to beat somebody up to boost his ego. He followed him again.
yeah,
This is where
yeah,
it's now you're dealing with a fucking psycho, right? If you beat the shit out of somebody and they come back, you're dealing with something different.
well, and that's where like when I was growing up, anyways, it's if at the end of the fight, if you didn't shake each other's hands and bro hug or go get a beer at the party after, right? You knew that for the next couple weeks or months that you had to be on guard at school or you had to be on guard all the time because those guys are either going to go get their older cousins and the gang members, or those guys are going to come back and they're going to find you at your weakest point. So, yeah, you got the better of them in that moment, but now they're going to wait for you out front of your house,
Yeah.
right? And they're
Yeah.
going to beat the living pulp out of you in front of your mom or your dad. Like, like it's a, I don't know, it just, maybe it's just how I grew up, or maybe it's just my mindset, but it's
Well,
never worth it. Like it's never ever been worth it. But for you, you said that it is worth it to you if a woman is involved, if a child is involved, or somebody who you feel like can't
I
defend
know
themselves.
I try to, well, I try to have that in my mind.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I try to have in my mind, what am I, so when I look at that, um, every situation, am I willing to die for this? Because if you go hands on, that might be the what happens, right?
Very much so.
Um, so am I willing to, a kid, probably willing to die for that, for sure. Like, that terrible thing that happened a few years ago in France. Um,
Yeah.
that guy with the backpack,
Yeah.
what a brave man, what a hero.
Yeah.
Um, he was willing to die for those kids. He had no training, but he was willing to die for those kids. Um, and going back to my student, I totally understand the psychology of what he was going through because he had one idea,
Yeah.
because he didn't train a broad spectrum of tactics.
Yeah.
He trained how to fight.
Yeah.
He didn't train how to defend himself, right? And he didn't train the ideals of having a bunch of different problem solving um, tactics to the
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
His only thought, I can't go home. I don't want him to know where I live.
Yeah. Which was great.
Which, yeah, but so where the next question he should have been asking himself, where is the best place for me to go? Where is the most tactically advantageous place for me to go? You know, who, what, where, when, why? These are the questions that you need to apply to the situation quickly, without, it's got to be instant.
Yeah.
Only have a few seconds to figure that shit out. And that's the scary part of self-defense. And you will make mistakes. You will
100%.
make
Yeah.
mistakes because
Yeah.
we don't get into these situations all the time. You will freeze.
Yeah.
How long you will freeze.
Yeah.
And in some situations, you freeze because genetically this trait has been passed on as a survival trait. There are times when that freeze has saved lives. If it didn't, that would have been weeded out of our psyche.
Yeah.
It, but that is the hardest thing for someone to deal with. I know I'm going all over on this topic, but I
But I mean, that's it though, right? It's are people thinking of these things, right? When they go to a martial arts class, is their instructor talking about it, number one, right? Are you talking about it at all, maybe afterwards the class? Is it brought up in your kids' program? Like, to be honest, in my kids program, I teach the kids more about how to be a good person. Yes, we talk about bullying, and yes, we talk about bully proofing ourselves. And like there's so many good things that we talk about, but until they become an advanced student, right, where they're invited into the purple belt and up program, because typically they're going to be older at that time, they've spent more time training. But now we start like dabbling about self-defense, right? And then from there, then we go into the adult program, and now we are training with the self-defense mindset. And then we go to the self-defense class, and it's completely different. Like I have guys,
yeah,
like I just changed the schedule last month, and I guys normally self-defense was after Gong Fu, and they showed up early, and they're like, why aren't you guys wearing your belts? And we're like, well, we're doing self-defense right now. And they're like, oh, the schedule change. I forgot. I'm like, sweet, do the class anyways. And at the end of the class, they're like, what was that? They're like, do you guys, is this every week? Like, I learned so much more about how to actually protect myself, because half of the class was theory and half of the class was physical skills, right? Where the Gong Fu class is 100% um, physical skills, with like little tidbits and little seeds being dropped in of self-defense, right? And I mean, I've built my whole curriculum to have self-defense, to have exiting as the number one thing. But Man, it's just, I think to me, I'm getting less frustrated as time goes on because I'm learning to just accept people for who they are. And I can't change them and I can't change the world. But I think that's why I initially wanted to do these podcasts with Todd and with people like yourself, because it's like, this is mental training. You're sitting here and listening to two high level martial artists who've dedicated their life to this, and they're saying that all our martial arts training should never be used for self-defense.
Yeah.
Everything else. So you have to listen to podcasts, you have to read, you have to put time and effort into things where you can be lazy and be at home because you're so tired or whatever. I wish everybody would come out and train. I wish people could get the amazing benefits that martial arts has given me that I'm forever grateful for, and the friendships like I have with Guru
Yeah.
Joel. But at the same point, like, do yourself a favor and just spend a little bit of time and do some research. Like Joel has dropped some amazing facts and data today about the people that are probably going to assault you are people you know. It's your family and your friends, right? Like that says a lot about something. That means that you don't need martial art training at all. You need more time with a psychologist. You need more time working on yourself. You need more time to go introspective. You need more time to evaluate the relationships in your life and to give yourself more confidence. But a lot of people who don't have the confidence, is kind of weird because it's like, okay, well, I'm going to go to martial arts training, so I feel more confident about myself, and that's going to help me change my life, which is going to help me do this, and now that's going to benefit me and my self-defense, right? So it's kind of
But
weird because it's this circle.
that's okay.
It is.
That's
Yeah.
okay. As long as they're not thinking that they're getting better at defending themselves. As long as they understand that this is a physical discipline that's a lot of fun. It has sport aspects to it. It has so much to it. It has social benefits. It has physical health benefits. There's so much good in martial arts, and there's no bad, in my opinion. You know,
Well,
there's
dependent on where you're training.
there's martial arts that are less practical for violence or for
Yeah.
counter violence. But
Yeah.
if you're enjoying it, who fucking cares?
Yeah.
Who cares? If you're having, who cares?
Yeah.
If you just enjoy the sense of humor of your sensei and what you're doing with your friends, I mean, it's you're doing something positive,
Yes.
right? People need to be social. We need social interaction for our mental health. Martial arts is a great way to get that because a lot of ways that we do that is unhealthy, right? Go to bars, drink,
Yeah.
you know, things like that, and they put us in danger, to be honest, a lot of times. But sorry, I got sidetracked there. But
I love it. I love it.
I love self-defense. I
Yeah.
have I have one night strictly dedicated to it. And to be honest, people come and go, right? My one student, Angela, is there all the time. Some people are having a hard time with work getting in the way. But when people, like a lot of people enjoy it, it's just maybe I'm not promoting it right.
No,
Um,
no, no. I'll tell you what it is. Do you want to know why?
why?
Because this drove me insane for so long. You and I prioritize self-defense for ourselves. You've been vulnerable enough to say that you train martial arts because of fear, right? You wanted to make sure that you could defend yourself. You were beaten up. You wanted to make sure you could defend yourself. You got into martial arts because of those things. Same as me. I was tired of getting bullied. So that's what put me on this path. I'm so grateful for my bully because of that, but that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah,
So,
I'll tell you
yeah,
something else. One of the
yeah,
biggest that, that I don't talk about is there was over a year that my sister got stalked,
yeah,
right? When I was 15, and I don't know if it was that person, but a couple of girls murdered in my town. And when he went to jail, the stalking stopped.
Yeah,
Um,
there you go. Right.
that
Well,
taught me.
but
Oh,
it's our past, whether it's trauma or not. It's whatever experience we have has put us into this. So this is what I've realized in North America. People don't want to spend time when the answer is super simple and given to them. Your self-defense class is probably repetitive. Good.
oh,
It should be repetitive. You are building base skills to keep you alive. If it is not repetitive, you are bored as an instructor and you are wanting to slide some martial arts training into there. You are not
yeah,
disciplined enough to make your students feel like what they're learning is good enough, that they need more from you, right? To be honest, Joel, like when I was creating my own program, that's what I had to let go of. I had to let go of the fact, and at first I kind of felt like a sellout because I was like, here's my program. I know it's good, but I had to be able to sell it. And in order for me to sell it so that people could come, so that I could have a successful business and have a successful dojo, they needed to feel like it was a workout. They needed to feel like they had goals. So now they needed stripes and belts. They needed to feel like there was a good community. They needed all of these things. And that's why my Gong Fu program is my heart and soul, which I love. But my Gong Fu program is martial arts with self defense mindset. It is not a self defense program. My self defense program itself um, is completely different. It has to be different. It's very simple. It's very succinct. Yes, we work on these things, but the things that I teach in that self defense program, the first half of the program is half theory, and then half preemptive striking or defending yourself. And then I basically go into my top 50 videos that have done 1 million plus. And it's like, okay, you're being grabbed. You know how to get out of it. Okay, well, now we're going to pressure test how to be grabbed. And we're going to keep doing this and then this and this. It's so boring to me. I won't lie. It is so boring to me because I've done those techniques again and again and again and again and again and again. But that's where I have to have discipline as a self-defense instructor. My Gong Fu program, 25 people per class. My self-defense program, 7. People, people will ask Randy King. How hard was it for Randy King to run a successful dojo that was 100% self-defense focused? Very, very difficult. Very difficult because people are like, this is boring. I don't want to have to do this and this. You have to find the right person with the right mindset that knows these things, that says, okay, it's okay. I'm fine with doing half a class of theory and half a class is this. And that's why I have 45-minute blocks for my adult classes of come and sweat, come and get all the martial arts training you want. It's great in Gong Fu. Now stay for self-defense. It's a little more chill. And then whatever we finish with for the night, right? Um, I I wish that everybody could actually be as safe and prioritize their training the way that you and I do. But in North America, people don't want that. Think
yeah.
how hard it is for a person just to get into a dojo.
Hmm.
Now imagine that that person comes in and is like getting beaten every day. They don't want to do it, right? They
Yeah.
want to come in and they want the best of both worlds because they get 2 hours a week of freedom from their family, because it's good for their health and wellness, it's good for their mental health, it's good for social, everything that you just said so beautifully. They're going to want the best of both worlds. They're going to want to work out. They're going to want to feel like they learned something new, and they're going to want a goal that they can work towards. If they don't have those things, Joel, it's not going to be there. And how many self-defense programs do you know of that have belts and stripes and systems? I know of one, and they just take away everything and just call it self-defense when it's really not. It's frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So don't feel that. If that class doesn't have the the higher amount of people, like you know what it's like. Your Muay Thai program brings in everybody. It's
Yeah.
so fantastic. Your FMA program, not as popular, but still good. But you live in a small town, right? People are like, what's Filipino martial arts? You know, we're a whole bunch of rednecks,
Yeah, you don't know. They don't know.
right? Like,
It's
why are we doing Muay Thai and BJJ? Can we just do Muay Thai and BJJ? And you're like, yeah, as a business owner, I teach Muay Thai and now I'm bringing in BJJ people. Very smart on your end, right? But
well,
the
I
people,
won't honestly like I won't bring it unless I had my friends teaching here for a bit,
yeah.
but for their reasons they had to retire, um,
Oh, okay.
and health reasons.
Yeah,
And there's two really good BJJ schools in town, and I will
yeah.
promote them.
Awesome.
I
Awesome.
will I will if people want BJJ, there's one right across the street. The guy's fantastic.
Beautiful.
Um,
Beautiful.
my friend Sheldon Dahl has started, and Gorgie, two really high level combat sports athletes. Um, I just hope they don't start teaching kickboxing, but they're just doing BJJ and they're doing fantastic. They got um, a really good thing going. Why
Great.
would I
Yeah.
compete with them in a small town?
Yeah.
I wouldn't, but I will promote them. I'll promote both of them. I'll push people to cross train. Um, and the other thing is I don't want to hold people to something that's not their thing, right? Like I don't want to say I don't want to be that guy who says no, Muay Thai is better or whatever. Muay Thai is a great base. Muay Thai is fantastic base. You learn to hit hard. You learn to have good balance. You learn how to clinch. There's a lot in Muay Thai that can be transferable to defending yourself when things get physical.
Yeah.
You've made all those mistakes, or maybe you did everything right, because we don't want to victim blame here. Maybe you did everything right and you just are in a, you just are in a bad situation,
Yeah.
because we want to be careful when we say that if you go physical, you've done everything wrong, because sometimes there's situations too where people are so fucking um deceitful,
Mm.
and there's
Dealing with the narcissists and the psychopaths. Yeah.
yeah, and I've been splashed by that, in my family. I've had people I love who've been through that, and there's nothing they did wrong to get into that situation, because those fucking assholes, those pieces of garbage, are very good at charming, very good at putting themselves, getting the trust and putting people into vulnerable situations.
For sure. For sure. And I mean, it's hard. And I personally don't like the word victim blaming. And it's be it like I literally had this discussion last night with my psychologist. Um, he goes, I tried to bring up the fact that that person could have left the relationship, and I lost those patients for a long time, right? I feel like I can bring that up with you, Kevin, because you realize that you're choosing to be here still in
Yeah,
whatever
yeah,
relationship, right? But there's a time and a place. If there's still trauma, if there's still things that that person personally hasn't dealt with, then that person has to go and deal with that stuff, right? But that's where I think a lot of people lose power, right? Is they're giving power to other people, and that's why victim blaming. But that's a whole other thing. We won't go down that road right now.
no, God,
Uh,
magic.
but back to the realities of self defense, right? And I think that the audience has got a really good kind of understanding of there's a massive difference, right? And this is one thing I'm trying to keep as a theme throughout this, that people are just hearing from different personalities and different, even though that they're very high level martial artists are getting on the program, which is great, there's still this side of things, whereas it's you can train self-defense very easily. You can get really good at self-defense by just watching a couple of videos at home, but it doesn't mean that you're going to get good at physical skills. I always believe, like, you can't teach yourself good martial arts on YouTube. You can try, you can mimic it, you can do a lot of different things, but it's very, very hard to do that without a coach to lead you. And I think
Even
that's where when you have physical skills, it's always best to go and learn it in person, in an environment. And it might just be martial arts, right? It doesn't have to be only self-defense focused, right? At least some training is better than none. But for audience members that, like, I get a lot of people who are always, I don't have time to train, Kevin. It's just too hard. I'm like, well, you have time to send me a message on Instagram. So if you have time to send me a message, how long have you been scrolling for? The average person in North America's daily phone time is past 3.5 hours right now, where
oh
they're
yeah,
on their,
oh yeah,
right? And if you're looking at that at 3.5 hours and you're not on it for business like myself, you're not on it for certain things. I reflect every week of what was my weekly screen time and how much of it was actually for this and how much was it me just doom scrolling, right? Because when you're caught in that doom scroll, it's hard. But what if your algorithm learned you enough that it started pushing more self-defense stuff to you, that it started helping you do these things? Think of the amount of subliminal programming that's actually taking place that's actually going to keep you safer, right? Or what if you dedicate some like 15 minutes of your hour of doom scrolling? What if you dedicate 15 minutes to that, of actually doing that? And then what if you wanted a chance to connect with your family more and you started role playing a little bit with your family, where you started doing little things? Like, it's the little things that you do every day that's going to make a difference. It's the little things that you start incorporating into your lives that help you get into the self-defense mindset, which is
that,
actually going to keep you safe.
absolutely. And you mentioned the family here and interacting and being present with your family. Um, Parents need to understand that the more they are present with their families, and it's hard nowadays, but your children are safer with parents who are actively involved. Like, so much so that that message has to be getting out from the self-defense community to the parents who are interested in protecting their families. Your presence and um, without getting too controversial, dads, your presence with your kids is one of the most important things to keeping them safe.
Well, here, don't get controversial. Just call it the alpha parent,
Yes, yes,
right? Because I don't give a shit about gender, right? All I care about is that whoever is, if you're in charge, and it could even be like your eldest teen that's taking care of the kid for the day or babysitting or going to a park, whatever. If that teen isn't trained, or if your babysitter isn't trained, like, that kid ain't babysitting my kid, right? Like, plain and simple, that teen ain't babysitting them, because they have to have training. They have to have an idea, right? And yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously, we're very passionate about it, right? But it's because you and I, like, we have the biggest hearts of the world. Like, we really want to make a difference in people's lives, right? And you teach a very competitive program. My program is the exact opposite. We don't do any competition at all. Everything is just based on yourself. That's why it's called Food, Learn to Master Yourself, right? But I think I love what we do is our base is martial arts. This is who we are. We are martial artists. And what a martial artist means to us is so very important. And I think you and I, especially over the last 10 years, like the early 10 years, or I guess the late 10 years, have had some really good discussions about what's more important to us. And
we,
both you and I have chosen our paths of martial versus art, and really gone into the, you know what? I am a self-defense guy. You know what? I do prioritize this. Do you know what? This is what's important to me. And this is, if this is the legacy that I leave behind, if this is what I leave behind, then I'm more than okay with that and happy with that. And I mean, you and I have gone in some really deep, deep conversations and deep internal struggles of, we love martial arts, but, and we love the people that we've learned martial arts from, but we are self-defense combative at heart.
yes,
And Do our programs and does our dojo reflect that? And we can do both. And that's what I love that you said. There's you have a self-defense night, and then you have your combative, or sorry, your competition-based nights. That's perfect. That should allow a new customer to come up to a possible new student and say, I'm interested in self-defense. Come on this night. I'm not interested in self-defense. I want to compete. Sweet, come this night. Then it is so black and white and built into them that they can do that. Because that new student I was telling you about, she came for self-defense. She also stayed for a Gong Fu class. Guess which one she signed up for?
Kung Fu.
Because it was physically intense. It gave her what she was looking for, even though we had long discussions about self-defense is her priority. And it's what got her in the door. She's staying for the Gong Fu.
So, yeah, yeah. And then she will get a little bit of self-defense.
100% she will. It will not be the most efficient way to get there. Like you said, within 6 months of training a self-defense program, she could be competent enough in her skills that she'll understand that physically, as a 90-pound woman, she probably couldn't do a lot. 90-pound human being. But if she could prevent these situations from taking place, she could. But you could see that that's not where her mindset was. Her mindset was fear. And her fear drove her to, I need to do
Man,
more physical things.
so many people, anxiety, fear, violence, fear about being able to handle themselves with violence. And it's, you know, I don't know if we necessarily can help with that without them talking to somebody who is good at helping people walk through anxiety, good
Like
at,
a professional.
like a professional. Yeah, there's
Yeah,
there's so much like we want to help,
we do.
but we're not therapists. We're and a lot of times the physical skills, you know, we there's a lot of people who sell those physical skills as a way of countering fear. It doesn't.
It doesn't.
You
It
have
doesn't.
yourself.
It will help a little bit. It will build some more confidence. Like imagine the first time, like I remember the first time I went to compete, I'm shaking, I'm nervous, I'm crazy. I fought my fear, I fought my anxiety. I did it. By the end of it, of my competition-based career, I wasn't nervous anymore. I was like, yeah, I get to go in. This is sweet. Ooh, I feel adrenaline. Yeah,
Playful.
this is
It
nice.
becomes
Right.
playful.
But it's the same as doing a black belt test. It's the same as doing whatever. Like you're getting that adrenaline dump, you're getting those things. But those things and those moments of competition or goal achievement has helped me in self-defense scenarios where I'm used to what this adrenaline dump feels like. It's not taking control of me. I'm not having parasympathetic nervous system backlash taking place. I understand I'm going to fight. I'm not going to freeze. I'm not going, well, if I can run, I'll always run, right? But it's those things. So those things for me is what martial arts did for me. But it took such a long time. And I think that's where my bias and my ego comes in of I want everybody to learn the most succinct way to feel safe because exactly like you said, if we feel safe, if we build people up, if we give them confidence, the criminals won't be able to do what they want to do. The psychopaths won't be able to do what they want to do. The narcissists,
Breaking
everything.
through that barrier. They
Exactly.
they'll
So then we're
have
actually making the world a safer place. Like,
yeah, I agree. I agree. We can help with that, but I really think that for deep-seated issues that
oh,
we aren't the answer. We may be part of the answer, but people really need to do their work on themselves. If
well, you have to see the professional at it, right? If you have mental problems, go and get help with mental problems from a professional. Don't just go to a martial arts person that's just they're philosophical, so they think they know everything. That's like going to a taekwondo guy because he has really good knife self-defense. Come on. Come on. That's
I don't even
it's
want to say it.
possible.
Is
It's
there, is there,
possible, but it's rare. So I
well,
don't want to
then-
piss off all the Taekwondo people out there, but unless that dude is like pressure testing and stuff all day long and doing blah blah blah, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like
yeah,
just like you said, find a professional. Get the
yeah.
help that you need so that you
And,
can.
and do martial arts too and
Yeah.
self-defense.
Please,
But,
please make sure to
but
come check out Joel and I. Well, brother, that was fantastic. That was fantastic speaking and coming checking out Joel and I. I'm gonna let you plug all your stuff, man. I mean, you've written books. Please tell us about your books. Please tell people how to contact you, et cetera, et cetera.
I got a couple available on Amazon. Um, just did this one not too long ago. Strike Enhancer Handbook. It's just a little booklet
It's
on
nice.
strike.
Yeah, it's great.
But um, got the old Boondock picked, my Strike Enhancer.
Oh, yeah. That's been on my channel a
That,
few times. Make sure you guys check it out.
that's the so the training, the plastic one, the high density plastic, and the training one are available through Tack Knife. Hope I said that right. And they've been really supportive on helping me promote this. And I do have me and Ruth.
Where do they find you? Like if they want to
Um,
watch you hit sticks or hit people or teach or talk self-defense.
I have a YouTube channel, the Bladed Bludgeoner. Just look up my name, Joel Huncar, on YouTube. I'm on Instagram. I have a Patreon, which is cheaper than a 6-pack a month, and you get ongoing lessons on eskrima, dirty pugilism, and combatives. So,
Excellent. And you're based out of Cranbrook, British Columbia in
yes, sir.
Canada. Make sure you guys check him out over there. It's well worth it, guys. I mean, obviously, there's not a lot of people I continue to train with, and I will always continue to train with Guro Joel Hungar because he's awesome. He's a really, really good dude, as you guys can tell. Make sure you check me out at Self Defense Goat or Self Defense with Kevin Goat on all the socials. We have the new Shopify store, or I guess I could just call it my store now, selfdefensegoat.ca. We got some tactical pens available on there, some sweet swag. So check it out. Please
Awesome.
help present, guys, like as much as you can, right? Like if you can support us in any way, even if it's $20, this isn't free. I have to pay for people who edit my stuff. It costs thousands of dollars a month. Make sure you guys do that. That would be much appreciated. If you want to check out my knife defense course, it's on calgarygongfu.com. If you want to hire me to come out and teach you guys and train you guys, send me an email, calgarygongfu@gmail.com. All that's on the website. And yeah,
And
so appreciative and grateful for you guys listening. It means a lot.
Kevin, I just want to add one more thing. If you're in Calgary, like this guy here, he's well worth looking up and well worth taking the time to train with him. Yeah, I've loved what you're doing, man. Keep on keeping on. You know,
You've been a big inspiration there, sir, as you know. And I'm so glad that we've got to do it together and grow amongst each other and always respect you, my friend. So awesome. Take care, everybody. Stay safe out there.
okay. Have a great day.